Welcome back, everyone. Have you ever noticed how some organizations just seem to effortlessly hit their massive long-term goals while others get completely bogged down in a million tiny tasks? Well, today we are looking at the invisible structure beneath that success. I'm really thrilled you're here for this explainer because we're unpacking strategic coordination and the architecture of program management. Okay, let's dive into this.
It feels a bit like a paradox, doesn't it? I mean, why do successful projects sometimes fail the business? Picture this scenario for a second. A team executes their individual project deliverables perfectly, literally flawlessly. They hit the deadline, they stay right under budget, high fives all around, right? Yet 6 months later, the overarching company goals still completely unmet. We celebrate these micro victories, but somehow we lose the macro war. How does that actually happen?
Well, the answer to that paradox is what we call the missing strategic link. Think of it like a giant construction site. Your individual projects, those are like scattered bricks. A perfectly executed project is honestly just a perfectly fired brick. But a pile of excellent bricks sitting in an empty lot isn't a building. To turn those isolated deliverables into a real cohesive structure, you absolutely must have a master blueprint. And that master blueprint is program management. And this brilliantly illustrates a core difference we need to establish right up front. Project management is entirely tactical. It zeroes in on specific deliverables, getting thing A to point B. Program management, however, has a vastly different mandate. It is tasked with harmonizing those diverse initiatives to deliver collective value. It's kind of like the difference between making sure a single violin is perfectly in tune versus conducting the entire symphonies so they actually play a masterpiece together. Let's look at the formal definition right from our source material. Program management is the discipline of coordinating related projects to achieve outcomes that support long-term business objectives. The fundamental shift in perspective is right there in the words. You are elevating your view. You're shifting from managing those micro deliverables on a day-to-day basis to ensuring that the sum of those deliverables actually hits your macro business objectives. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the emphasis on a holistic view. When you pull back and you look at the entire landscape of what your teams are actually doing, you gain unparalleled control. Individual projects simply cannot deliver these kinds of overarching benefits on their own because they are just too zoomed in. This holistic view, it enables organizations to achieve outcomes of truly profound strategic importance. So how exactly does an organization achieve this? Well, the source material outlines 5 interconnected pillars that act as a sort of engine of alignment to solve all that fragmented project chaos. We're talking about strategic alignment, resource optimization, risk management, comprehensive oversight, and handling complexity. Let's break these down real quick.
Let's move to and see how this builds, starting with Pillar 1, strategic alignment. This is where the magic really starts. It means creating a hard, measurable line connecting project outcomes directly back to the overarching organizational strategy. Every single initiative, no matter how small, has to contribute to the big picture. If a project doesn't align, program management flags it, making sure no one is wasting time running in a direction the company isn't even trying to go.
Then we have Pillar 2, resource optimization. Think about how often isolated teams end up doing the exact same work without even realizing it. Team A buys software that Team B already has a license for. It happens all the time. But by managing resources across a unified program, rather than within these isolated little teams, you dramatically reduce that duplication. You're sharing knowledge and assets dynamically, completely maximizing workflow efficiency across the board. Next up, we combine Pillars 3 and 4, risk management and comprehensive oversight. Having a broader perspective lets you see risks that individual managers honestly just can't see. Kind of like falling dominoes, you can spot cascading risks, where a failure in Project A suddenly threatens to take down B and C. Plus, you get this beautiful, unified view for better stakeholder governance. You're no longer deciphering 50 different conflicting status reports. You just get one comprehensive truth. And finally, Pillar 5, handling complexity. This is the critical tool you absolutely need when your company's initiatives just grow too large for a single project manager to grasp. When you're dealing with massive scale, traditional project management kind of just breaks down under the weight of its own spreadsheets. Program management steps in here to provide the essential framework required to manage that intense complexity without the whole shebang falling apart. To really ground this, the source material gives us 3 massive real-world examples: digital transformations, corporate mergers, and global infrastructure rollouts. Just think about a merger for a second. There is no way you can just assign that to one project manager. It involves IT, HR, legal, finance. It fundamentally requires coordination way, way beyond a single project scope. Endeavors of this massive scale require a strategic architect to keep the whole thing from collapsing. And that brings us to the bottom line of this explainer. The true transformational value of program management is taking those disjointed, localized tasks across all those different departments and turning them into powerful, unstoppable momentum. It ensures that when your teams finally cross that finish line, they aren't just holding a deliverable. No, they are holding the keys to the company's next evolution. So the crucial point is the contrast is incredibly stark. Fragmented efforts are just exhausting. They burn through budgets and they burn out your employees for really minimal strategic gain. But unified progress, guided by program management, it acts like a focused laser. It channels all that scattered light and energy into a single, highly powerful beam. For sure, this is the only way organizations can truly leverage their massive scale. Ultimately, adopting this architecture isn't just an administrative update or, about organizing your folders better. It is entirely about securing sustainable growth and a massive competitive advantage. Organizations that adopt true program management simply outmaneuver those that don't, because every single ounce of their energy is coordinated. They aren't wasting energy on friction. They convert it all into forward motion. Which leaves us with this final, vital question derived from the core message of our source material. I want you to take a hard look at your own organization's approach to execution. Are you just managing projects? Are you just ticking boxes and hitting tactical deadlines? Or are you delivering strategy? Think about how these 5 pillars could completely transform the way your teams operate starting tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep focusing on that big picture, and I'll see you next time.